There is no harmony in the universe. It is not that I hate it. I love it. I love it very much. But I love it against my better judgment.
Hello, I'm Cavassier, the goddamn newt. UFC 217 was in New York City over the weekend, and holy hell, anyone else still a little tingly? I don't remember the last time I enjoyed an event as much. The old Couv feels sorta innocent again, rejuvenated. From the curtain jerker to the main event, every bout contributed to the emotional arc of the evening. Each crescendo rose higher and rang sweeter, culminating in a main card that transformed Madison Square Garden, and we glimpsed something like perfection. I'll release more episodes about the main card from UFC 217 over the next few days, but I've got to start with the saga of Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Rose Namajunas. There were many questions about the mental game between Joanna and Rose heading into UFC 217. As the fight drew closer, some voiced concern for Rose. They were worried she was psychologically broken and looked like a proverbial lamb being led to slaughter. I expected Joanna to run her normal script against Rose and win another clean decision going away. Only Demetrius Johnson is better than Joanna at using technical superiority to keep fights fast-paced and exciting while simultaneously being 100% risk-averse. So smart. It's the key to being elite when you don't carry power in your hands. Dominic Cruz and Michael Bisping are two more examples of this in their own way. But that's not how the fight played out. A month before UFC 217, Joanna and Rose shared stage time, and the world sees just how different their approach to the mental game is.
But definitely, she's very sneaky, very tricky. We all know that her jiu-jitsu is on point, but I'm not only a striker.
When Joanna answers a question, she takes control of the moment. She oozes confidence. She's charismatic. Even though English isn't her first language, her answers are polished and insightful.
I'm ready for all of them, but I don't think that they're ready for me.
Joanna loves to place doubt in the mind of her opponents.
But she says maybe you're not ready. Just what are your thoughts on this fight and where you stand, where your head is heading into it?
Rose listens like the dudes explaining cremation options for Nana.
First of all, I don't know, does somebody got some water or something? It's just energy drinks up here and I need some water.
She deflects the question with a socially graceless non sequitur. Her tepid countenance and bland non-answer helps discourage the press from asking more questions or prying deeper. Joanna's famous for her stare-downs. First, she violates your personal space. Once you react, she locks eyes and belittles you in a quiet but forceful voice. You can't win a face-off against Joanna. It's her game. She invented the rules. No matter how you react, she comes away stronger. Rose faces Joanna disaffected and mopey. Slouched and sad doesn't work against the face-off queen. Rose surrenders to Joanna in this moment. Not accepted. Joanna pushes her advantage and elicits a non-voluntary facial gesture. Rose quickly regroups, but this isn't a good moment for her. She was exposed by Joanna. Rose pretended to be emotionally impenetrable, but she flinched. Joanna can take confidence from beating another face-off challenger, but she requires a more demonstrative reaction. She'll continue to push until she gets that reaction she needs from Rose. There's nothing positive for Rose to take away. This empty vessel lacks content. There can be no self-determination without something inside to plant the seed of agency. Throughout the build-up, Rose remains mute against Joanna's provocations, always impassive, never rising to the bait. The question, is she stoic or is she stultified? Is Rose controlling her emotions or is she hiding from them? Is she present and in the moment, or is she drifting untethered? Presenting the blank visage to your opponent during a stare-down can be an effective tactic. Typically, a Darth of Emotion is a defensive shell employed when a fighter worries about having their emotions manipulated, especially if latent existential fears might be triggered. We saw this type of emotionally vacant defensive shell employed by Floyd Mayweather Jr. against Conor McGregor. Floyd wasn't empty of emotion, he was acting. It was his tactic to avoid being sucked in or overwhelmed by Conor's chaos. At some point, Floyd made a calculation that hiding his emotions from Conor would serve him best. Fake it until you make it.
You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, he doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red. In spite of all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in and they rip you to pieces.
Rory McDonald takes an emotionally dead stare to a whole nother level. It's become an offensive tactic against his opponents. Paul Daly mentioned before his fight with Rory that he didn't talk much trash because after spending time around him and looking into his eyes, he was worried for his life and his family. He sort of played it off as a joke, but in the fight he tapped like he was thinking, "It puts the lotion in the basket." Days before the fight, Rose gives a better indication of her psychological state.
It felt cool, but I don't really pay attention to my feelings too much, because I have a wide range of emotions and feelings, and they can be distracting, so I just stay focused.
To start, Rose's body language is much the same as other interviews, sort of cool and reserved and distant. This is a long interview with BT Sports. It's an important media partner with the UFC, so it's likely Rose understands the responsibility to sell herself and the fight. Her makeup is done, her posture's alert and attentive. She even shows a little of her charming smile here. We see a nice range of motion with hand gestures and head movement. There's an attempt on Rose's part to be engaging.
All the pictures on the walls and stuff like that, it's walking through, but all that's gonna matter is Saturday night.
She's free with large general gestures, but you're really looking for harmony and coherence across facial regions and muscle groups when assessing how authentic and emotionally connected a person is with the situation and what they're saying. At first glance, her expressions seem full and authentic. She's certainly more open and engaged, not so obviously mopey and receding. Look again. You see the slight smile on her lips. It continues around her mouth and all the way through her cheek muscles, but it stops there. Her eyes give nothing, a complete disconnect between the smile on her lips and her non-responsive eyes.
Yeah, I definitely, that was definitely the, physical attributes that I noticed. But as far as like the energy is concerned, you can tell that there's, all the pictures on the walls.
My first thought when analyzing this clip was Rose's mind is in an altered state. This type of subdued emotion, the kind that doesn't fully express itself through connected gestures, is typical of certain drug use, perhaps a benzo prescription. Watch again.
Physical attributes that
She's authentic, but from the eyes up, Rose is disconnected. She's there, but she's not all there. A little Xanaxed, perhaps. It might be too subtle to see without experience, but I'm confident Rose altered her mind for this interview. I was worried for Rose. The likely side effects of what she took would include impaired visual acuity, balance, and hand-eye coordination. Not good for someone a few days out from the biggest fight of her career. This is near the end of the interview.
Most of the time, I'm just focused on my fight. I know that's definitely not a great advertisement for people to watch this, but I'm just concerned about me.
Rose is speaking a little quicker. Her cadence is more evocative, personal to her, not so bland.
I like both of those fighters, but really, most of the time I'm just focused on my fight.
Look at these gestures, a complete display. We know she's fully engaged because we see her eyes squint in concentration, her eyebrows pinch in the middle, while the rest of her face resonates with companion gestures, including her mouth and chin and across the forehead.
I don't even know, honestly. I'll find out though. Yep.
We wish you the best of luck. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for talking to us. Thanks, Rose.
Thank you.
By the end, Rose's words, emotions, and body language, they all work together harmoniously. So what the hell? I just said I was sure Rose altered her mind for this interview. If drugs dulled your facial gestures as much as Rose's were at the beginning of this interview, there's no way to turn it around 15 minutes later.
We wish you the best of luck. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for talking to us. Thanks, Rose.
Thank you.
What happened? Did Rose alter her mind or not? Yes, Rose absolutely altered her mind. It was analyzing this interview that started to clue me in on how she was changing from an empty shell that wavered under Joanna's gaze at that first stare down to the stalwart warrior who could stand firm and calm and quietly project her will, her agency when face to face with Joanna. In the words of the great Ariel Helwani, of course, drugs aren't the only way to alter one's mind. Rose is employing breathing techniques for mindfulness. Simply learning to control your breathing during stressful situations can have a huge impact. Rose found a talisman to help focus her efforts. She wears the prayer beads throughout the fight week.
That's Mitka. My mama's a thug.
After the fight, she speaks openly about the importance of controlling her emotions, especially against Joanna.
I try to put her out of my head as much as possible. Of course, she's a Jedi master at mind control, but she can't control me. And that was just the key to this fight was controlling myself and my own thoughts and my own emotions, regardless of what's going on around me.
Well, that's what I see. The analysis took me further down the rabbit hole than expected, so I've decided to make a multi-part series. In this episode, we saw Rose develop a healthy psychological approach to dealing with the mind games of Joanna Jedrzejczyk. The next episode will focus on Joanna's increasingly intense behavior in the days before UFC 217 and Rose's blueprint for thriving. We'll also use a little psychoanalysis to parse this moment.
Boogie Woman is coming for you, Rose!
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, like it. Take part and subscribe. If you have an idea for a future episode, let me know in the comment section below or over on the Twitters. Remember, this isn't supposed to be easy.